I'm back for part 2. What's up guys, Manime here with another episode in my series of Black Clover Sucks. Before we begin, someone did point something out to me in the comments of my last video. If you actually like Black Clover, good on you. It's subjective and the show does have some redeeming qualities, but that's it. Don't expect me to hold back. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but clearly that means I have the same right. And you know what I think? So let's just go ahead and jump right into episode 2. So the show starts off with a recap, which I'm not usually against, but the recap is 3 minutes and 30 seconds long, and I'm not counting the intro, which turns the amount of time I'm skipping every episode to 5 minutes. Which may not seem like a lot, but considering the outro starts at the 22-minute mark, that means that we're only really getting 17 minutes of new content per episode. Which, good on them, I'm glad. This actually makes my job so much easier. I can just skip all that shit and I don't get the feeling that I could be watching a show that I actually like, considering the time difference. All joking aside, this is stupid. Why are they adding filler to these episodes? It's not like they don't have enough material. The manga is pretty damn far ahead. It's almost like they have no respect for their audience. Sorry about that. Either way, starting at the 5-minute mark, we get a flashback in the middle of a battle. Wait, oh shit, I know this kind of episode. This is gonna be one of those flashback episodes, isn't it? So, I've got an idea. Like I said earlier, we have about 17 minutes on the clock. Let's see how much of that time is spent in flashbacks. Either way, we get to see the show implement something called a context clue. For basically the first time. We see young Yuno crying over something small, inferring that Yuno was a crybaby when he was younger. Which, fun fact, makes the scene that they set up last episode in the church completely obsolete, since its main purpose was to tell us that Yuno was a crybaby. And since that fact has not been relevant in between these time periods, there was no reason for that scene to ever exist. I think my main gripe about this is the fact they do often use context clues correctly. Then they always preface it or follow it up with dialogue to make sure that we understand, which is annoying and repetitive. Which leads me to another problem I have with this show, repetition. Which leads me to another problem I have with this show, repetition. Which leads me to another problem with this show, repetition. Which leads me to another, you see how you're slowly starting to hate me? That's because repetition is fucking annoying. They say the best way to kill a joke is repetition, but clearly the creators of Black Clover didn't get this memo. Most of their punchlines are repeated way more times than necessary. One of the most common jokes being, I get it, it was kind of funny the first time, but this joke was told 4 times last episode, so I kind of figured it would die there, but no, of course not. This joke just reaches way too far to the point of being annoying. By the way, this won't be the last time we hear this joke. Okay, so after this, we get some exposition on how the Hidden Leaf Village was founded and what the Hokage, King of Pirates, Wizard King, does. We get another Marry Me joke, and finally we get to the life-altering event that changed Yuno forever. And what is it? Asta got beat up a little bit. Fuck. Really? That's it? Did they really live that sheltered of a life? My friends and I got the shit kicked out of us all the time when we were that age, but that was just normal. And sure, we made stupid promises like we'd never cry again, but we were kids, so they were obviously lies. See, I think this event could have been easily fixed with a few key changes. The first thing is just leaving what actually happened obscure. This is one of those backstories where the less you know, the better. By leaving it up to each individual audience member to figure out what happened, we'll all think of what would affect us, personally, the most. It's basically a smart writing technique to get free empathy out of your audience. And I get it, maybe they did want to paint a clear picture of what actually happened, then at least make it relevant to the plot. Have the guy who tried to steal the necklace be the mage who is trying to kill them right now. Oh yeah, and just a reminder, in case you forgot, we are still in that flashback. Or have him be one of the captains of the magic guards, or hell, make him some special mage that steals Asta's powers away. Give this encounter weight. All this ended up being is some throwaway character in a generic town sort of beating Asta up. This is probably, if not the most, one of the most important scenes in your anime. put some damn thought into it. After this, we finally exit our first flashback and arrive at the fight that started last episode, and Asta beats the guy in one swing. No surprises there, and we finally get to see where all the animation budget for this episode went. And then, as usual, in case you missed all the stupid training montages, Asta reminds you that the reason he is super strong is because he works out a lot. No shit, Sherlock, thanks for spelling it out for us. And then, more flashbacks! God damn it, fuck. Well, either way, nothing of importance happens, and we finally get to my favorite part of the episode. You know, in case you didn't get it, the joke was that my favorite part of the show is when it ends. You know, because it's really bad and I clearly don't like it. By the way, I just did the math, and roughly 14 minutes, rounding down, of the 17 minutes of new content was flashbacks, i.e. 82% of the episode. So, take that as you will. Alright, well, if we want to make any real progress, we're gonna have to do more than one episode per episode. So let's just jump into episode 3. So the episode starts off with a pretty crazy action scene that made me question something. Why wasn't this the first thing we saw in episode 1? I mean, it's nothing particularly special, but this would have been the perfect place to introduce us to the series. But for some reason, the prologue showing how the first Wizard King came into existence isn't shown until episode 3? So why do it at all by this point? You've already explained the story to us once in a particularly boring storybook scene, so now you're just showing us what actually happened, defeating the purpose of the storybook scene? I know earlier I used the issue of repetition as a way to overkill a joke, but I've never really seen a show use repetition to kill the narrative. After the intro credits, we come across this problem a second time, where the priest explains to the mage that he thinks Yuno can become a magic knight, but not Asta. Twice. In a row. Like, not separated by an episode, but only by a single line. Also, the priest is complaining that Asta shouldn't take these exams, but we later find out that there are no repercussions for taking these exams. The exams aren't dangerous and life-threatening like Hunter x Hunter. There is no fail this part and you can never come back again like Naruto. The exams are, granted, more realistic, but aren't really a threat, so why not just send all the kids in the village? By the way, in this running scene, there should be no way in hell Yuno can keep up with Asta. We see Asta train physically constantly throughout this episode, but we only see Yuno train his magic, so this should be no contest. So after this, it's just some bullshit training scenes until one of my favorite lines in this series comes up. Orphans like us, who are poor, aren't allowed to dream like that. Really, kid? Where the fuck is this coming from? Later in the show, they show a difference between the wealthy and the poor, but this hasn't been mentioned or shown to us in any form yet. This is just so out of left field, it's honestly pretty funny. Then Asta responds that it doesn't matter if you're poor or an orphan, anyone can become amazing. You know, as long as you're born with some latent super abilities that no one else has. So Nash, sorry, apparently that's the kid's name, yeah, don't worry, I had to look it up too, decides to put all of his faith into Asta. Why? We've seen this kid do nothing but belittle Asta the entire show. Like, this would make sense if he was doing this to Yuno because he has respect for Yuno and is raised in the exact same situation as he was, but for some reason he picks Asta? This just makes no sense and it's just bad writing. I think this is supposed to be a cheap way to give Asta that little extra push, but it's pretty clear that this has no effect on Asta. It's just so out of place, it's actually kind of impressive in a way. Either way, after this, we see everyone belittle Asta because they're all assholes. Like, I get that Asta's annoying and all he does is yell, but this is actually kind of cruel in its own way. After this, Yuno and Asta leave the town to become Junin ninjas, and we get a flashback to remind us that, yes, the Marry Me joke is still a thing. The final 5 minutes of the episode is them just walking to the city where literally nothing of interest happens. They just walk and sometimes run. And then as they reach the city, Asta states, "It's been a long and perilous journey." Clearly this dude has no idea what the word perilous means. And that is the end of episode 3. Thank God. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I find myself somewhat enjoying destroying this show. I don't know why, maybe because I'm a masochist. Anyway, a huge shout out to all of my patrons. I am the Nash to your Astas, if that makes any sense. If you're interested in supporting the channel or just some special perks, I have a link to my Patreon in the description. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamned anime!